it will become clear why I did it. And these strange times where I think mostly everybody is in lockdown. I would love to be now in beautiful Berlin, where normally we travel too much, but now I guess like most of you, we are actually missing it. So I'm now 10 years in oil-free compressed air, having worked for 2 market leaders in a couple of functional domains. I've gathered, let's say, quite an in-depth knowledge on this subject, and I would like to talk a little bit about it today. So first, the agenda. I would like to talk about the customer requirements that are process and market driven, the headaches of most customers, the solutions that we can give, how we evaluate actually those advantages, carefree service, something specific, a small summary, then how we relate to Industry 4.0, the impact on the ecosystem, and some references. So let's talk a little bit about air. The customer requirements are high. There is a high air quality demanded by the customers, which is determined by the segment the customer is in. We are actually providing 100% oil-free air. And the total cost of ownership is what is expected to calculate the return on investment. Also, reliability and availability is very important, and also the flexibility towards the production. The green squares that you see are actually new industry trends, the 4.0, and also asset-free operations, what is actually becoming quite popular. So, as you know, in practice, things can be quite different. So no monitoring, maintenance only done when it's too late, limited knowledge also on specific technologies, and no visibility of the key parameters, so failures as a consequence. The installations can also be quite big. A lot of air is often needed, especially in larger plants. So also there is a high dependency of this oil-free air. The integration in the ecosystems can be very challenging because of oiled electronics, closed software, limited available data. At Tamturbo, we try to do things differently. We try actually as much as possible to accommodate the customer needs. Our slogan is touch-free, carefree, and we try to live up to these customer expectations and go actually beyond. On the photo, you can clearly see the quality where we differentiate ourselves in towards other manufacturers, the stainless steel piping, stainless steel cable trays, the machined parts. It's in a whole different world. It is developed for lasting quality, and lasting quality is also to be carefree as a customer. In terms of total cost, often it's misrepresented. And so they say, okay, you have an investment cost, you have some service, and you have the energy, where of course energy is the biggest part in a compressor. However, this doesn't give you the whole picture. There are a lot of other parameters that also come into play and that are actually very important to take into account. This is the way I would like to talk about total cost of ownership. The key parameters, of course, are the electrical energy, the compressed air coming out, the investment cost, and the service cost. The reusable heat is a very important one that is often forgotten because, of course, these machines are water cooled, so there are a lot of possibilities to also recuperate the heat. Noise, footprint, lifetime, response time are often not really evaluated because it's not so easy to evaluate them. Now, did you know that industrial air actually consumes 10% of the global industrial electricity, and that this is growing 5 to 7% annually? So compressed air is a huge parameter in the global electricity consumption. Also, did you know that if your car would have the same life cycle cost, a traditional technology, of course, not a Tesla, that the life cycle cost would actually be 3.6 times the purchase cost. The yearly maintenance would be around 5,000 euros, and every 5 years you would need to have a new engine. Next to that, the fuel consumption when new would be 5.6, but because of the technology, it would be 7.6 after only a few years. So this is comparing it to a traditional compressed air technology. So it's not sustainable. The impact of it is quite clear. During a climate convention, this picture was presented to get people activated on energy savings and sustainability. It represents 2050 with an average temperature increase of 4 degrees C. What do you think? Do you think it's time to act now? The yellow part is the part that actually becomes inhabitable due to the increase in temperature. Now, what we can do about it, the 10% of the industrial air consumption on a market of $13 billion, where 20 to 25% is actually oil-free air, so our domain, I would say that this is quite a good start. Most of us are often changing the LED light bulbs at home, but I do think that this is a more valuable action that we could take in the factories. The cost of compressed air is actually 8 to 10 times more than electricity. From the 100% of electricity, 85% is actually generated in heat, 15% in air. And of that 15%, a lot of waste is also happening because of leaks, because of artificial demands, and because of inappropriate use. Now, the problem today is a little bit that the current technologies actually don't allow for a sustainable future, because the current business model actually is driven by after sales, is containing oil and has energy losses during the lifetime. So if you compare the Tamturbo technology towards the traditional technologies, we actually don't have all these parts. We don't have oil seals, we don't have gears, we don't have any bearings. I will explain you why. Our innovation has been done here in the red curve in the centrifugal technology. As you see here in this graph, it's one of the most efficient technologies anyhow, and now the curve will even be elevated more because of our innovation. That innovation is actually touch-free technology. So here on the picture, you can see our module. The module is consisting of a high-speed motor with the rotor and the stator, the magnetic bearings that elevate the shaft, and the double impellers that actually guarantee the air compression, where you have here the discharge. So the air is coming in here, the air is being discharged here. This is quite a revolution. We use high-speed permanent magnet motors. They are synchronous, they have a very high efficiency, they're variable speed driven, and the maximum RPM is 35,000 RPM. So you can see now that because of this speed, we don't need any gears. Also, the active magnetic bearings. It's a simple and robust bearing design, so we don't have any wear. They tolerate variable load and rotational unbalance, resisting vibrations. It is a PID controlled circuit with a 14 kilohertz position measurement and steering. And of course, it's completely oil-free. Earlier, I talked about heat recovery, heat recuperation. That is often one of the forgotten methods of actually using energy. So at Tamturbo, we don't only have energy recovery, we innovated 3 different solutions of energy recovery. So we have the standard heat recovery, the boost heat recovery, and we have a high temperature heat recovery, where in the option 2 and option 3, we can guarantee the water outlet temperature despite the inlet conditions. And part 1, in option 1, we can actually recuperate up to 93% of the water energy with a temperature of 65 degrees water out. Because we use the magnetic bearings, we only use the components that matter and no more. It's a carefree technology, free from rising electrical bills, free from maintenance, free from blow off, free from environmental load, with peace of mind. It's actually a simple alternative to existing very complex technologies. On the left side, you can see the maintenance schedule of a typical compressor, and on the right side, you will see our maintenance schedule that we advise, and that is actually not specifically required on those time frames. Typically, it's after those time frames. So we do condition-based monitoring. So you will see that normally in those systems, there is a 4,000, 8,000, 16,000 hour and 40,000 hour maintenance. The 80,000 hour maintenance is actually a complete overhaul, which is again generating a lot of waste. At Tamturbo, we have a lot of checkups that we do in 6 months. Between 1 and 2 years, we change the air filters. And after that, condition-based, we have several other intervals where we check the VSDs, where we check the cooling fans to guarantee that the machine can stay operating at the same level of energy. And because of all this, we can actually give a 10-year carefree contract. This 10-year contract covers all the consumables, wearing and spare parts, needed labor, remote monitoring with optimization of algorithms, with a back office team that will follow the operation of your machine. Everything is included at a much lower cost than the competition. As a small summary, the total cost of ownership, where we differentiate ourselves. So here at the left side of the graph, you will see the purchase cost. It's the service and the maintenance in the middle, and the energy at the right side. Actually, the purchase cost is quite equivalent to a traditional oil-free technology. It's more than an oil-injected technology, which is evident. The maintenance is lower than both oil-injected or oil-lubricated and oil-free technology. The energy consumption is lower than an oil-free technology, but it's a little bit higher than an oil-injected technology. Of course, the air quality coming out of the machine is not the same. So after filtration, I will come back to this later, there will still be quite a big difference. Then on the level of costs, after 5 years, traditional technologies need an overhaul, which makes the costs rise. It will also be the reason that technology is deteriorating. So there is a Teflon PTFE coating on the rotors, which makes sure that when they rotate, this Teflon coating is wearing up until the point that they need to be replaced. But of course, the efficiency can never get back to the efficiency that it was originally, so it will always be below. At Tamturbo, it will be a stable efficiency. So in terms of ROI, the savings on average are 20 to 30% a year, meaning 30 to 40,000 euros a year. And this, if you take the difference in capex between investing in a traditional technology or innovative technology, it will give you a payback of less than 1 year, which is often even better than most companies are looking for. Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 is a key aspect of the future. What we do different, we measure everything and we display it to our customers. All our parameters are open for our customers to follow at the machine or remotely. Because we use a standard PLC as operating platform, the SCADA integration is also easy. Now the asset is connected to our centralized Tamturbo technical support team, and they are constantly monitoring your assets and warning you if something is bound to go wrong. It's a 24/7, 365 days a year sort of guarantee that you have, with a reaction to alerts, alarms, notifications to customers that are programmable to a couple of phone numbers, a remote fix and compressor restart if required. there isn't the need, especially in these COVID times, there isn't the need to always to have a technician on site. In most cases, it can be done remotely. There's a periodic review of data logs. So also the data logs, all the parameters are actually free to program what you want to monitor. How do you want to see it? What kind of length of data do you want? And based on that, you can, of course, optimize the installation even more. In the compressed air system, there are a lot of components. One of our missions is actually to transform the market from oil-injected air to oil-free air, because with this transformation, a lot of waste will be reduced, and ultimately the energy efficiency of the installation will be higher. So this means that there are less components needed. The ultimate goal is the removal of losses. If you have a look here in this process, it's a very extensive process where at the right side of my pointer, the oxygen generator, the nitrogen generator often is very customer specific. But let's say here the process line is often what most customers have traditionally. So before that, you will have a typical process diagram of a compressed air installation. So you will have a compressor with a drain, a filter and a drain. Sometimes you will have a separate aftercooler, an afterfilter, a vessel, a pre-filter for your dryer, the dryer with the bypass, the afterfilter, and then depending on the quality of air that is needed, you will need to have an adsorption dryer and an activated carbon tower to remove any oil vapor in a traditional oil-injected installation. But on top of that, you will have all the oil still in your water separators in the filter. So all this, let's say, polluting oil, you still need to clean. So you need a water oil separator to clean the drains as well. Every component in this installation has a certain pressure drop. So this is typical in an oil-free, oil-injected installation. So you will have a pressure drop on your aftercooler. You will have a pressure drop on the piping, on the bands, on the absorption dryer. Very specifically, of course, on the filters. This is the reason that often there is a delta P measurement done on the filter to see when it's polluted and to be sure to replace it in time. Why? Because every 1 bar in pressure that you lose, you need to increase at the source. So if you need 7 bar in the process and you lose 1 bar in the complete network, it means that your compressor has to generate 8 bar. This 1 bar is actually equal to 8% of the power, which is huge. It's huge. Then the compressed air ecosystem. This is the summary of what we have spoken about up until now. So with a system control, the Tamturbo is actively managed. If you compare this on the compressor level only, it assures a much lower service cost. The energy cost will be lower because it's a very efficient technology. There is no need for any overhaul. The air receiver that will not contain any pollution, any oil, anything. So also there is no risk. The filtration will be free of risk because of the lack of oil. The desiccant will be free of risk because of the lack of oil. The service needed on the dryers will be less. There will be no air quality risk. And ultimately, the environmental load because of dirty filters, because of dirty oil will be much less, which actually means that we are striving and we can tell our customers that we have the lowest total cost of ownership. We do this with a disruptive business model. There are 3 possibilities. You can either invest and maintain the machine traditionally. You can do the investment and have the carefree service package, what we have talked about. But as you remember at the first slide, I crossed asset, because what I see today as an industry trend is actually that the users of compressed air are looking more and more about being carefree, being free of worries. And because the compressed air is only, in most cases at least, a utility, they want to assure that the cost that they are paying for their compressed air is a recurring monthly cost without any, let's say, insecurities, without a high overhaul cost that often occurs. This is the reason that, again, we developed a very innovative business model in the compressed air domain, which is called touch-free air. It means basically that the compressor plus all the related expenses, including installation, auxiliaries, are paid by us, and that actually you as a customer only have to pay the usage of the compressed air. That can be done as a monthly fee, or it can be done per cubic meter. At Tamturbo, we already have a few milestones. It's still a young company with a disruptive business model, but the company started and was founded in 2010. In 2011 to 2012, we had the pre and concept design of the high-speed turbo compressor. And let's say between 2013 and 2016, we spend a lot of time innovating and further improving, further redefining what we intend to do in the market. Then in 2017, we actually started the production. Our first units were sold. So there was a 7-year gap between the foundation of the company and selling our first machine, because we wanted to have our basis correct. So since then, our growth has been exponentially. We are now active in the US, we're active in Russia, we're active in Asia, we're active in the Middle East, and we are active in Central Europe. We were already able to generate several happy customers that now clearly know the advantage of our technology. I would like to show you some of these reference customers, and I would like to talk and elaborate on them a little bit. So because there is absolutely no oil in our compressor, we satisfy the quality requirements of our customers. So as said in the first slide, the air quality is one of the most important aspects of what we do. We eliminate all the risks of the contaminated air because there is no oil. Also, there is no Teflon that can wear and end up in the process because our impellers are made from titanium. We eliminate the need for an oil water separator that the water needs to be cleaned. We are the natural fit for industries with zero tolerance, like food and beverage, automotive, textile, electronics, chemical and printing. Since the compressor has no oil, there is no oil or oil filter to dispose, recycle, or to get rid of in the environment. With all these advantages, we were actually able to get one of the largest brewing companies in the world as one of our key customers. As a leading company, they have very clear and ambitious sustainability targets for their production facilities, both in terms of efficiency and also in heat recovery. So one of their larger breweries in Europe was aiming to replace actually an oil-free screw, so it's traditional technology, to complement actually the other machines on site. And before making the purchase decision, the Tamturbo was introduced to them on a trial basis. So based on the savings calculation, they would have a payback of about 1.5 years, which would also improve their sustainability targets. The customer is now planning to replace actually the total compressor fleet and the other breweries globally. So this is quite significant what we have accomplished there as a young and a new company. And the solution consisted of our TT185, which is a machine of, let's say, around 200 kilowatts, an adsorption dryer, the installation, the flow, and the power measurement. Of course, these projects are never easy. So while we had our remote monitoring, we were even able to diagnose some of the problems we encountered at the customer site, and we were able to proactively solve them as well. So it was a really, really nice journey to take together with the customer. The installation is now actively running since several months, almost 1 year. The second reference that I want to elaborate on is Medibel. It's a company located in Belgium, near the French border. It's a major potato processing plant, so they actually make everything from French fries to all the variants basically that you can imagine in potato-based food. They process 2,500 tons of potatoes daily, and their goal is actually to have a circular economy, to not to have any waste. And there we were the only solution. So in the small diagram on top, you will see that the potatoes will come from the field to the factory. They will be processed to an end product. Then the remaining product will not be disposed. It will be used as a biofuel to generate electricity, where the electricity again will be used again for the plant. That remainder will go to fertilizer for the fields. And then again, you will have the complete and circular economy. So this is a plant where we were able to replace oil injected technology, which would have traditionally a much longer ROI. However, we were the only ones having the possibility to completely change basically what they were doing today as an only supplier. And the machine is now currently running for about 5 months. The customer is very happy with it, planning to invest in a second one. Currently doing already an algorithm update to improve his efficiency on site. So this is what we do. This is Tamturbo. I would like to thank you very much for paying attention to my presentation. I sincerely hope it was insightful. It was something new that I was able to present to you. And I would very much like to invite you afterwards to contact me if you have any questions or any further thing that would need to have clarification in any way. Thank you very much. Back again to you, Lilia.
Thank you, Brecht, for your presentation. So we have maybe 1-2 minutes left, and I will just maybe ask you to give some final sum-ups on practical implementation for such projects, how long it can take, and how you see the future of this technology.
So mostly in practice, what happens actually is that a customer has a certain requirement. That we actually start with mapping their process and to see what the actual requirement is. That based on that, then we present them with a plan and a detailed ROI calculation based on the consumption that they have today or that they will have tomorrow if they already have an idea. Then we can select the appropriate components, meaning compressor, auxiliaries, piping, filters, what is needed, and integrate them in a total solution. If we are talking about the throughput time of such a project, it will be in the neighborhood of about 6 months, more or less. As far as the future of this technology, I really believe that this technology will dominate the market in middle long term, because I do believe the time of a maintenance model, a maintenance based business model is actually over. I don't think that this will last. And because our technology actually doesn't need maintenance and is actively handled, I do think it will change the market completely in a few years.
Okay. Sounds very inspiring. So please feel free to reach out to Brecht. You can also visit exhibition booth from Tamturbo if you have any questions about their technology. And thank you again, Brecht, for being with us.
Thank you very much, Celia.
Yeah, we will be back at 15:10 for our last two sessions, and now we will be having a networking break. So we'll see you soon again. Thank you.
Bye-bye.